Kyle, good to see you. Today we are talking through one of the toughest transitions in retirement. That is from going from being a saver to a spender. Only one third of retirees are actually comfortable spending their retirement money. Most would rather live off Social Security, pensions, or income from part time work. So, you and I, Kyle, have spent hours talking through strategies that address retirees' biggest fear, which is running out of money. But we haven't really touched on the other side of that coin. Don't hoard your money and compromise your quality of life. How do you help people transition from being savers to spenders?
Absolutely, Erin. The big thing for us is that we have to understand why people are anxious to spend their money in the first place.
Hmm.
A lot of folks vividly remember 2008. I haven't met anyone that really forgot about that. And then, honestly, since 2018, we've had really volatile markets. So we've had great periods of time, and then we've had really terrible periods of time. I mean, a
Hmm.
year like last year, just about everything was down across the board in markets. And on top of that, you've had a lot of inconsistency in interest rates, which that directly plays to here, what's my safe money doing at the bank? And then what does it cost to borrow money, right? To buy a car or to run up my credit card a little bit for a bigger purchase. And so, with both of those things, quite frankly, everyone that's either getting ready for retirement or entering retirement, they're counting on two things: volatility in interest rates and in markets. And then you
Hmm.
got a news cycle that tends to perpetuate these fears. So to us, it's definitely about making a plan. And the big thing is, honestly, knowledge is our biggest power against anxiety in the first place.
Right. Well said. So I was also surprised. The study from BlackRock found that a vast majority of retirees still had 80% of their pre retirement savings after almost 2 decades in retirement. One third even grew their assets. Do those numbers surprise you?
To be honest, not at all, Aaron.
Yeah.
Working with clients for periods of years at a time, you can see that your needs and wants change. Just because you're done with your career that you've worked most of your life, doesn't mean that you're ready to just necessarily retire in the traditional sense.
Right.
And what does that mean? Is you may want to go back, do some contract work for a previous employer, take on a part-time job, volunteer a little bit, get involved. So you need to have flexibility in whatever plans that you're making for your retirement, because we see it far more often than you'd expect.
Right. So I know that you have an action plan to help retirees feel a little bit more comfortable spending their money. And the first step of that action plan is to have a spending plan. And I was surprised, again, a lot of these numbers just surprised me to see that one quarter of people actually don't even have a spending plan.
That's very, very true. I mean, when you sit with people, understanding your budget and everything that you're spending is not a fun task necessarily,
Right.
because we got all these subscriptions nowadays that you can't honestly keep track of. But you've got a lot of tools out there that are available to the consumers to help you understand how you're spending money. And you need to understand, at least on a baseline level, what's going out every month. What do
Hmm.
I need every single month to be there for me?
Hmm. And now the second part of that plan would be assessing all of your fixed income sources. So there's specific income that you think people should have a good grasp of.
Absolutely. And the main one is Social Security.
Right.
You've got to learn Social Security, understand the ins and outs, when you should file. And then you got to understand Medicare, right? That's not necessarily an income stream, but that's going to be with you your whole retirement. And you've got your Part B premiums, you've got Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements. There's a whole world that you really need to acquaint yourself with on that side of the fence.
Mhm. And then the third step after you have one and two in place is to bridge that gap. So when you have your spending plan and then you have your income sources, if there's anything that is left in the middle there, that's what you help people do, bridge that gap.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And if you're doing this from the individual standpoint, traditionally you've got your safe money at the bank, right? I'm going to have my money market or whatever that may be. And then I may have the market. And however that performs, I can maybe take a little bit more this year or a little bit less this year. That's the DIY approach. Working with a professional, we'll typically put a plan in place for everyone. You'll get a written plan, and then we'll understand, what are my expenses every month? What are my taxes going to be? You've got to account for the inflation aspect of it. So you may
Mhm.
have an income gap of 1,000 in 2023. Well, you better believe it's not going to be $1,000 5 or 10 years from now, right? So you've got to keep all these things in perspective. the research and take the time to get comfortable with all these things. And sometimes having a professional in your corner that does it every day, that's a huge help.
Right. And I think it all comes back to peace of mind, right, Kyle? That's exactly what you're saying. Having that plan leads to peace of mind, and then we feel comfortable spending our money, which we want to enjoy retirement. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Kyle, somebody has questions about creating that plan with you, or if they just want to talk through any of this, what's the best way to reach you?
The best way to reach us is through our website. That's firstcoastfinancialgroup.com.
All right, Kyle, thank you.
Thank you, Erin.